Welcome to Against the Spread right here on YouTube, obviously, where we pick NFL games against the spread. In this space, we're just going to do the five that are the most interesting to us. But he's going to have all the games except for, obviously, the Thursday Nighter on sportsnet.ca, so make sure to check that out. The game that's interesting to me anyways, because of who isn't playing, is Indy at Jacksonville. They are 3.5 favorites on the road. It's interesting because Blake Bortles finally is not playing. Cody Kessler is, and I guess maybe, are they better because Nathaniel Hackett isn't calling plays? We'll find out. Do you think, like 61% of the public, that none of that matters and that the Colts should be the real favorites?
I do think none of that really matters. The Colts aren't just a team on a roll. They're a Colts team that can make a run to the playoffs, and I believe if they get there, can make a run. Frank Reich is coaching this team better than I ever thought he could with the roster that he has. Andrew Luck is playing maybe the best football of his career so far, which is crazy, and the defense is playing really well. So I don't know that these changes will make much of a difference. Kessler could be an upgrade on Bortles, but I am definitely just going to roll with the hot hand and the Colts on the road. Yeah,
I'm not sure if there could be a downgrade on Bortles. So maybe Kessler, just a new face, a new voice in that huddle, would make things better. But to me, this is all about two teams going in opposite directions. And the Jags are going to be $7 million above the cap next year. They're a team that thought they were winning the Super Bowl this year. They're clearly not. So we've seen it. That defense is kind of quit, where the Colts, they got life right now. Luck is pushing the ball down the field, something he wasn't doing to start the year, and he wasn't throwing at all at this time last year. So even though Doyle is hurt, Ebron has been a beast, more touchdowns for the Colts than he had during his entire tenure as a Lion. I'm with you. I like the Colts, even though they're on the road. I think 3.5 is not a lot of points, really. Minnesota at New England, who at home, the Patriots are -6 favorites, and 56% of the public likes the home team in the Patriots. Do you?
I think the Patriots are primed to be beaten here, and I think the main factor is the Vikings defensive line. I was kind of unimpressed with the Vikings after their loss to the Bears last Sunday night, but this Sunday night they were so much better and they were dominant along the defensive line. They got to Aaron Rodgers multiple times and threw off that offense's rhythm if they ever had one. And we've all seen one way to beat Tom Brady in his career, and that's to pressure him up the middle of the offensive line. And I think with Danielle Hunter and Everson Griffin and Sheldon Richardson, that team has the capability to do it. And I think if they don't win in New England on Sunday, they'll at least keep it close. So I like the Vikings.
Yeah, I disagree. And I think even if you have pressure on Tom Brady, he's pretty much unbeatable when Rob Gronkowski is healthy and Gronk is back. And the difference in QBR for Brady when he's on and off the field is 25 points. That's the difference between Drew Brees and Andy Dalton. And I think Tom Brady, at that level with Gronk, even against Zimmer and his great defense, has a big day. So -6 for the Patriots at home, I'll take that. Cleveland goes to Houston in a line that has moved quite a bit. It started at 4.5, now it's 6.5 for the favorite Texans. Is that too many points for you?
24 hours ago, I would have said yes, but I've been made a believer of these Texans based on last night's performance. They went down 10-0 and then came back to really dominate the Titans at home. So with their big playability with Deshaun Watson, and now Demaryius Thomas is getting involved, Lamar Miller's having a better second half than a first half, and that pass rush of J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney, I think the Browns really will end up being in over their head. And I went from a non-believer, and now we'll pick the Texans by a touchdown. I like it.
Yeah, I do as well. To me, it's a streak ending and a streak continuing is the narrative of this game. The Browns finally ended a terrible road losing streak, one shy of the record. And the Texans now, after losing their first 3, run off 8 straight. We're the first team since 1992 to win 7 straight after losing the first 3. I think it goes to 9. I think they still win because they're the more balanced football team. So yeah, the 6.5 to me, I'll take that comfortably for Houston at home. Chargers going to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh at home, 3.5-point favorites. Honestly, if you told me this was 3.5 the other way, I wouldn't be surprised. Having said that, given that it's Pittsburgh at home as the 3.5-point favorite, Are you taking the Steelers or are you on the Chargers?
I like the Chargers, and I'm going with them because of what I like to call road field advantage, because the Chargers at home, they've been just okay. And earlier on this same segment, I said that I didn't really believe in that lack of home field advantage, but I think it is a real thing. When they're away from home, they just have a better rhythm, and they're 4-1 against the spread when they're on the road, and they're just coming off a really great win over the Cardinals. So I like them to continue that, the Chargers, and I think the Steelers are in a tough spot here.
Yeah, and the Steelers coming off what for me was a bad loss. And it's all about, again, these two quarterbacks in this game kind of playing opposite. Ben Roethlisberger, 4 red zone interceptions, one to seal that loss against Denver. He leads the league in that category, where Rivers comes off completing 96% of his passes, 25 in a row, even without Gordon, who's out with the MCL. I think Eckler is so good, especially catching the ball. I'm really comfortable with the Chargers. Pittsburgh they're going to have the public behind them, but I think the Chargers have been a better football team. I'm comfortable with them on the road in Pittsburgh. Washington at your beloved Philadelphia Eagles. And picking them has not been good for you in this segment.
Bad.
If you watched, you know. 6.5-point favorites against a division rival. Are you going to pick the Eagles?
Okay, so I think, before I answer that question, I think that the Eagles have the opportunity here to make a real run, use that momentum that they got against the Giants in the second half, where they were so bad in the first and came back and played really well. So I think there's some momentum there. It may be wishful thinking. That said, I think the spread is too big. I think with the injuries that the Eagles have, especially in the secondary, they're playing a practice squad in the secondary, that it's going to be hard for them to cover big spreads like this. Plus, they're 1-4 at home against the spread. I can't pick them. I think they'll win, but it's not going to be by a big margin.
Wow, this is the surprise of the year. Because I actually am going to pick the Eagles.
Really?
And it has little to do with the Eagles and everything to do with the team from Washington, whose name shall not be named, because their quarterback, who shall be named, is Colt McCoy.
Yeah.
And even Carson Wentz, who hasn't looked like the Carson Wentz of his rookie campaign, he's still better in a game that his team needs to win than McCoy. I like the Eagles to cover. Survivor pick time, and if you're still in yours, congratulations. If you listened to us last week, you are, because we were both right once again. I'm going to go with Seattle because I think Nick Mullins, he's been figured out at this point. I love Pete Carroll in that defense against the Niners. Who do you got?
I'm going to take the Titans against the Jets. And regardless of Monday night's performance, the Titans are going home, and they're playing a Jets team that are a mess. I mean, Todd Bowles is basically a dead man walking at this point, and they're without Sam Darnold, who was their only ray of hope. So down and out Jets against the Titans. Give me Tennessee every time.